Release the Ayer cut! I find it pretty amusing how the brightest, most light-hearted DC movies are directed by horror directors, and the darkest, most depressing one was directed by the guy who directed the Hangover movies. But hey, they were really big successes, so it seems like they know what they're doing. And I've been really impressed with these recent DC movies and how they're taking a more standalone movie-based approach and letting these individual directors have creative freedom over their respective films without forcing any cinematic world building. The focus seems to be on telling good individual stories and less about grand plans for epic crossovers. And it's been working very well for them. Cathy Yan helms this newest movie, Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, or Bo Pat Fiok for short. She's only directed one feature before, Dead Pigs, which I assume is a follow-up to the Angry Birds movies.
Run, Piggy, run!
This movie centers on the fallout after Harley Quinn and the Joker break up, drawing from the same idea that the Harley Quinn series did. Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn is just as chaotic as the title suggests, in both a good way and bad. The narrative is all over the place, especially in the first 30 or so minutes. It gets off to a very shaky and inconsistent start, jumping between so many characters and their respective origins that you don't really have anyone to latch on to. It doesn't really find its footing until more than halfway through. The movie starts off with the idea that every criminal and no-gooder in Gotham that Harley's ever crossed is out to get her. And now that she no longer has the Joker's protection, she's easy pickings. And that's an amazing concept for the movie. If only it followed through with it past its opening act. The film kinda just forgets about that whole idea and focuses on this diamond that the Gotham underworld is after, shifting the focus of the story to a lame MacGuffin hunt when it started out with something legitimately interesting. How cool would it have been to see Harley fend for her life against all these villains and assassins throughout the whole movie? We do get to see some of that, don't get me wrong, but I would have loved to see them fully explore this idea. Margot Robbie's performance as Harley Quinn was one of the highlights of the Academy Award-winning Suicide Squad. Release the Ayer cut! And even though I found that movie to be more dumb than dumb fun, I thought her take on the character was fantastic, and Margot Robbie continues to nail the character. She does an even better job in this movie, and the R rating lets her go all out with her performance. It's a very natural extension of the Harley she played in Suicide Squad, just with a little bit more cursing, and it doesn't feel gratuitous either. Margot Robbie makes the character her own, and she's absolutely wonderful in this. Her Harley voice is also much better than it was in Suicide Squad. I mean, it's still not as good as my Harley impression. Ready to rev up your Harley, Mr. J? I like how carefree and ditzy Harley is in the face of life-threatening danger, and how her intelligent side shines through a handful of times. I really appreciated that touch. She was a doctor at Arkham after all. She could have easily been a one-dimensional caricature, but she's far from that. As insane as she is, there is a fair bit of emotional depth to Harley in this movie. Speaking of insanity, the movie tries to portray Harley's state of mind by going bonkers with some of the visuals, mixing in a lot of animation, title cards, and hallucinations. And most of these gags can be pretty inspired and even funny, but there are moments when they tend to go on for an awkward amount of time and mess with the overall pacing. And in a movie that already suffers from a messy script, this can be more of a problem than it should be. This is a lower budget standalone movie, so you're not going to see many Easter eggs or distracting world building. You don't need to see Suicide Squad, thankfully, or any of the other DCEU films to get a handle on what's going on, so it's pretty accessible for newcomers. We get a quick little abridged origin story at the start with a really fun animated intro, and that really gives you all the information you need going into this movie. A lot of praise needs to go to the production designer, KK Barrett. The overall aesthetic and set design of the film is really colorful and fun to look at, with the Black Moss Club and the abandoned amusement park being the big standouts. And overall, the movie looks really well shot, even if the writing leaves a lot to be desired. You'd think in a movie called Birds of Prey that we'd actually get to focus on the Birds of Prey, but honestly, the other characters are severely underdeveloped. The Team Caper aspect of the movie was something I was really looking forward to, and we pretty much only get that during the climax of the movie. Huntress suffers the most. I mean, if you're only going to have a handful of cliche backstory flashback scenes for her instead of properly developing the character, why have her in the movie at all? I honestly didn't even know what her personality was supposed to be until the very last scene in the movie. I'm not even kidding. Whenever the movie cuts away from Harley for too long, that's when it really starts to drag and fall apart for me because of the weak writing around the Birds of Prey. The new characters are fairly far removed from their comic counterparts. Now, that kind of thing doesn't really bother me that much, so I'm not going to take any points away for that. But if you're a real stickler for comic book accuracy, you're not going to be too pleased with this movie's interpretations of these characters. Most of these are just their characters in name name only. Black Mask barely wears his mask. Victor Zsasz looks less like a psychopathic killer and more like that guy you try not to make eye contact with at the hairdresser. And it's heavily implied that they're in some sort of relationship. I know a lot of people are going to take issue with some of these changes, but I didn't mind them too much. Partly because Ewan McGregor and Chris Messina are just so entertaining as Black Mask and Zsasz respectively. In fact, most of the supporting cast do a great job with what they're given. Another thing the movie does well is the action. The stunt team and director behind the John Wick franchise worked on the action sequences here, and they really are the highlights of this movie. They do a lot of creative things with the fight scenes, and there's some really impressive stunt work going on here. They're definitely more cartoony and stylized compared to something like John Wick, but it completely fits the tone that the movie's going for. It's that Hollywood action where a swarm of baddies takes turns to fight a single person.
Okay guys, one at a time. One at a time, guys. Oh god.
Okay, next guy, go.
My turn. Ow, my face.
Okay, next guy, go.
Owie. Wait your turn. God. Hey look, I'm dancing.
Okay, your turn.
Ow. Oh god. One at a time, guys. Okay, should I just stand here?
Yeah, just stand there.
Okay, got it. Hey, my turn. Okay, she's coming for me. Okay, I'm done.
Shouldn't we all rush her at the same time?
No, one at a time. We don't want to overpower her or anything. Okay, wait your turn, guys. Come on. You go first. Okay, there we go. Okay, next guy.
And a group of gun-wielding gangsters get easily defeated by a single person with a baseball bat, and not a single bullet hits the main characters at point blank. I mean, as much as I like the action in this, there wasn't a single point in the movie where I felt the characters were actually in danger. And because of that, the stakes feel disappointingly low. The Birds of Prey are the greatest fighters in the world, and the bad guys are more incompetent and useless than a blindfolded stormtrooper.
Stop right there.
Who are you?
Captain Gregg, captain of the 502nd Legion of Blindfolded Stormtroopers, Anti-Defamation Division.
Wait, there's an actual legion of blindfolded stormtroopers.
Affirmative, and I'll have you know that we're an extremely capable group of soldiers trained from birth to make sure the main characters get away alive. And what you just said was incredibly offensive to our kind. On my command, men.
It's treason, then.
Fire!
Okay, back to the movie. Would I recommend watching this? Well, there's plenty of wacky Harley Quinn fun to be had here. So if you're a fan of the character, you're going to have a good time with this, if you're willing to overlook the weak script. Yes, it's messy, it's unfocused, and it has no idea what to do with some of its characters. Just like my videos. But there's plenty of good action and humor here to keep you entertained. And Margot Robbie's performance is enjoyable enough to carry the movie through its rough patches. The thing that makes Harley Quinn such a popular character is that she's a survivor. And this movie nails that. But I'll be honest, I didn't love this movie as much as I wanted to. But I liked it just fine. I wish it had more of a straightforward narrative instead of constantly jumping around between different times and characters. Because the movie doesn't handle that very well. Release the Yan cut! I had a lot of fun with it though, despite all its flaws, and I'm hoping it leads to better DC standalone movies in the future. I would be interested if they decided to follow this up with another Harley Quinn movie. Perhaps Birds of Prey 2 or the Gotham City Sirens. I think that would be great to see. But ultimately, I give Birds of Prey a score of a coked up Harley Quinn.
And our job here is done.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Kyber Q Show. If you enjoyed this video, like it, and if you want to see more reviews from me, please consider subscribing. I also did a review of the Harley Quinn animated series, so be sure to check that out if you're interested. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.